former slaveholder that emancipated his slaves a few years back. These are his stories. Poe witnessed Benjamin James Harris, a wealthy tobacconist, whipped a 15-year-old slave to death. While doing so, his wife heated a smoothing iron and put burns all over her body. The reason for this punishment? Nothing. Harris was acquitted, but a few years later, he whipped another slave to death.
A witness of slavery. He was a guest at a house. The slave told him to bring him warm water for cleaning. The slave misheard the house owner and gave Lad boiling water instead. As a punishment, the house owner grabbed the slave's arm and put it in the boiling water to have a result of being nearly cooked.
Mr. Poe witnessed a slave mother was pouring molasses into her child's cup. She poured a little extra into the child's bowl, but nowhere near more than the child could eat. What we probably wouldn't even notice today, the slave owner tied the woman's hands together and beat her senseless. Her eyes and ears swollen shut, almost unrecognizable. After the slaves had to leave the room to get to work, all slaves had to say thank you to the owner as they walked out. This included the woman. The woman had to walk out and thank the very man who beat her for a minor mistake.
Another witness from Lad was a slave was running away from their owner, and he was eventually out of breath. The owner eventually found them in the woods and brought him back to his house. When they reached the house, the owner strapped straw on the slaves' whipped back, kicked them on the ground, and lit them on fire.
Mr. Poe witnessed a U.S. Navy captain displeased with a slave boy. His actions to this are brutal. He took the boy into a warehouse, tied his hands to a rope, hung him from his hands to where the boy could only barely stand on his toes on the stool he was barely standing on, whipped him repeatedly until the boy was too exhausted to keep himself up. The boy hung by his hands and died.